Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Serendipitous Lee in the German Tier 10 battleship, the Großer Kurfürst. Oh, hang on, I'm supposed to say howdy folks, aren't I? Okay, we'll start that again. Howdy folks, welcome to World of Warships with the mighty Jingles. And this is Serendipitous Lee in the German Tier 10 battleship, the Großer Kurfürst. Actually, you know, I've just noticed something. All of the great battles that people are having, and they're sending the replays in, or they're putting the replays up on World of Warships replays.com and sending me a link to them. Have you noticed that they all seem to have something in common? No aircraft carriers. Have you? Oh look, a Tier 10 battle with no aircraft carriers. No wonder people are having fun. We'll see what Wargaming managed to pull out of their hat in the next patch, because there are some more carrier tweaks and hotfixes coming, but for the moment at least, Lee here is just enjoying the fun while he can. So what do you need to know about this ship? Well, she's not very subtle for one thing. Her base surface detection range is 18.18 kilometers. I'm pretty sure that there are some maps that aren't that big. I mean, not the kind of map that you're going to be playing in a Tier 10 ship, of course, but I'm fairly sure some of the low tier only maps are probably, if not as big as that, then not much bigger than that. So yeah, you're going to see this ship coming from a fair old distance away, and that's probably another reason why I'm sure Lee is very happy to be not facing a midway in this particular battle. Another reason why Lee is very happy to not be seeing any aircraft overhead in this battle is because of this ship's speed, or more specifically, its speed and its shape. See, the Großer Kurfürst is a very fast battleship. Has a top speed of 30 knots. Now, a lot of that is obviously down to the raw horsepower of the engine, but an equally important factor in hydrodynamics is the shape of the object that you're attempting to move through the water. And if you want to move something through the water very quickly indeed, as well as giving it a powerful engine, you make it very long and very narrow. And the Großer Kurfürst is very long, and it's very narrow for its length. Unfortunately, another factor of that kind of shape moving through the water at speed is that it takes absolutely forever to turn around, which makes the Großer Kurfürst a very inviting target for torpedo bombers, because as well as being the biggest target in the game, if this ship starts executing a turn to port in the last week in February, it completes that turn to port around about the second week in May. And then of course, you have the guns. You actually have a choice of guns on this ship, either 406mm or 420mm, and the 420mm are absolutely terrible, and the 406s are only marginally better, but that's just down to the fact that you get one extra gun barrel per turret, 3 guns per turret, if you sport the 406mm guns, which means there's even more chance of all of your shots missing the target, because that's basically what these guns do. It's the same in the Frederick the Great at Tier 9, and it's the same here in the Großer Kurfürst at Tier 10. And I have never seen this point more graphically illustrated than in this battle played by Serendipitous Lee here today. And now you're about to see it too. Why does anybody bother getting this ship? Because it is immense fun to play. Despite the slap hazard nature of the guns, the secondaries are absolutely hilarious. With the full secondary build, which Lee has, these guns fire out to a range of 11.6 kilometers. And because they're Germans, all of the 150mm or better guns get that quarter caliber penetration, so they basically have the IFHE skill built in. And that's great, because as any battleship captain who has been on the receiving end of a Worcester, where the Worcester captain has the IFHE skill, getting shot at by 6-inch guns with IFHE shells is not funny. And that's basically what you have here. Now obviously the secondaries are not as accurate, even with the relevant captain skills, as the massed 6-inch batteries of a Worcester, but they're more accurate than the main battery guns of the Großer Kurfürst. Look at this. The Missouri is a sitting duck. He's even dragging the Tashkent along with him. But these shots, they're just... nope. Broadside Missouri, 7.2 kilometre range, practically stationary at the point where he fired all 12 406mm guns, let rip, did around about 1,600 damage. The secondaries have done more damage. In fact, the secondaries did around about 5 times as much damage as the main battery guns did to that sitting duck Missouri. And if you thought that was tragic, strap yourselves in and stand by, because you ain't seen nothing yet. Our second victim has just entered the match. A fully angled Montana Tier 10 American battleship. And, well, that was kind of underwhelming. And yet at the same time he did about 3 times as much damage with his main battery guns to an angled Tier 10 American battleship than he did to a fully broadside stationary Tier 9 American battleship. So, what does the Montana do? Why, he turns to give full broadside, of course, doesn't he? The forward turrets, 6 406mm shells at a range of 8 kilometres, do absolutely nothing because they all miss. The rear turrets fire at a now stationary and grounded Montana at a range of 8 kilometres. 1 over penetration, 1,270 damage. Here comes player 3 in the Azuma, and he's done a fair amount of damage as well as knocking out one of those horrible gun turrets. Lee uses his damage control, decides that he's going to finish off what he started on this Montana if it kills him, and it just might. Oh, Tashkent suddenly appeared. There may be torpedoes ahead. There almost certainly are. Still not really having any luck, although he did finally at least score a decent salvo on the Montana. I mean, no citadels, of course, but there was a good couple of actual penetrations there for about 10,000 damage. Follow-up shots? Yeah, not really, no. There are the Tashkent's torpedoes. Obviously, the Großer Kurfürst is equipped with the hydroacoustic search consumable, and having spotted the Tashkent, he's obviously using it. He's had a gun turret knocked out again. He is definitely going to eat 1 or more of these torpedoes, because while this ship is very fast in a straight line, it takes a while to get up to that speed. So he's flooding, he's burning, both of his front gun turrets are knocked out. He still hasn't managed to kill the Montana. Although, given the performance of the main battery guns thus far, having both of the front turrets knocked out isn't really going to affect his chances of finally getting the kill. The Montana then, and I like to think that he basically did this on purpose as a sort of come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, although he probably didn't, then runs himself aground again, still broadside on, still at point blank range, still can't sink him, and then finally finishes the job with the rear turrets. And it only cost him about 100,000 health. What are you talking about, Jingles? He had 105,000 to start with. He's got nearly 15,000 left. Yeah, but he's used 2 heals. Oh, right, yeah, of course. Now suddenly the guns start behaving themselves. And that's the thing about the Großer Kurfürst. You never know what's going to happen when you pull the trigger. Maybe they'll hit, maybe they won't. And you're just generally kind of grateful when they do. It's kind of like a British car from the 60s and 70s. You never really know what's going to happen when you put the key in the ignition. Maybe it'll start, maybe it won't. But if it does, you're just, kind of grateful. The Großer Kurfürst's guns are just like that. Every time you press the fire button, it's like Bilbo leaving Hobbiton. You don't know what's going to happen. All you know is it's going to be an adventure. I don't know exactly how much of the nearly 153,000 damage that he's done so far came from the secondaries, whether those were from direct impacts or from the fires that the secondaries set. But I'm willing to bet it was about half of it. And obviously this is a kind of extreme example. I mean, the Großer Kurfürst's main gun performance isn't always as diabolically bad as this. Although often it is. But most of the time, it's merely terrible, rather than cataclysmically bad. And this, of course, is why so many people in German battleships, usually from Tier 8 and up with the Bismarck and the Tirpitz, and also at Tier 9 with the Frederick the Great, and here at Tier 10, as Serendipitous Lee has, elect to go for secondary gun battery builds, and rarely equip the 420mm guns, instead going with the stock 406. Oh, hang on a second. The Cyclone is in effect, by the way. That was the Azuma that he's been chasing, but hello, what's this? An Edinburgh, stationary, in the spawn, broadside on, at that kind of range, that was actually around about 20,000 damage. With 3 overpens, of course, 1 penetration and a citadel. The Edinburgh, of course, has been AFK the entire game. I guess he just didn't like the matchmaking much. AFK or not, of course, he's still spotting. Luckily, the cyclone is in effect, so even though, technically, the AFK Edinburgh is spotting Lee's ship, the Azuma is more than 8 kilometers away and can't actually do anything about it. The Edinburgh being AFK there is actually a kind of good news, bad news situation for Lee because, well, good news, obviously you can farm some easy damage on the Edinburgh, but bad news because even though maximum visibility is down to 8 kilometers, he did have his spotter plane up and was able to see the Azuma around about 9 kilometers away. Unfortunately, the Edinburgh, AFK or not, shot the spotter plane down. Now you saw some shots flying in from the far side of the island over there. That's almost certainly the Azuma. And while the Edinburgh was up, even though he couldn't physically see Lee's ship, he did see his position on the minimap and was almost certainly trying to land a couple of sneaky high explosive shells there, just using minimap targeting. The Azuma has meanwhile been spotted by the friendly Atago, and so Lee is now changing course because you can see that the Azuma is heading south, and Lee's going to try to slip between these two islands and attempt to go for maximum comedy value with a full broadside into what should hopefully be a broadside on Tier 9 Japanese battlecruiser. Now in any other Tier 10 battleship, the Republique, the Conqueror, assuming it's firing armor piercing, the Montana, the Yamato, that would almost certainly result in a deleted Tier 9 Japanese battlecruiser, but in the Großer Kurfürst, well, it's anybody's guess really, isn't it? You just kind of roll the dice and hope that the secondaries can take up the slack. But if he's going to spot that Azuma, because of the visibility conditions imposed by the cyclone, it's going to be at ranges of 8 kilometers or less. Now, we've seen what these guns are like when firing at the broadsides of targets, 8 kilometers or less away, and this time, oh, actually that wasn't too bad. That was the front turrets. The secondaries are opening up. Let's see what the rear turrets can do. It doesn't have an awful lot of health left. Now, under any other kind of circumstance, got him. And another Citadel. Hooray. Of course, you're going to Citadel the target when he's got less than 3,000 health left, aren't you? In any other circumstance, if you were that close to a broadside-on Japanese cruiser, there would probably be torpedoes coming, and you would have to take some radical evasive maneuvers. But the Azuma doesn't get torpedoes, so nothing to worry about. You can begin to see why so many Großer Kurfürst captains just don't bother with the 420mm guns. I mean, yes, technically they do more damage, but they have to actually hit the target first. And they fire slower, and there's not as many guns per turret. So it's very much a case of trying to get the maximum amount of shit thrown at the wall and just praying that some of it sticks. That Cleveland has probably just shit himself, as well you would if any other Tier 10 battleship had caught you broadside on in a light cruiser at a range of 6.5 kilometers, but, well, it's the Großer Kurfürst. So you get multiple chances. Let's go for a second roll of the dice with the other two turrets. Are we feeling lucky? Shots out. And... nope. Let's try again with the rear turrets. Hey, 666. Fantastic. Took long enough. Considering the very rocky start, he's not doing too bad with a high caliber and 244,000 damage. Oh, hold on a second. Spotted from the air. Bismarck's aircraft. Targeted. Oh, that's not good. Oof, that really kind of hurt. And doesn't seem fair somehow, given how he's been unable to punish ships giving broadside to him, and then the very first time that he's caught broadside to anything, it's another German battleship, and it riddles his belt armour with 15-inch armour piercing shells. Then again, he managed to do pretty much exactly the same thing to the Bismarck. But he's used all 4 of his heals, and this 5,000 health that he has remaining is all he's ever going to have. Worse than that, he now has to angle against the Hipper and the Bismarck, otherwise he's guaranteed to die, and one of his front turrets has been permanently disabled, which means he now only has 3 notoriously inaccurate 406mm guns with which to defend himself. Well, except he also has those secondaries. and the assistance of an incredibly brave Megami. The Bismarck's down, the secondaries finish off the Hipper, there's the Kraken unleashed. Now unfortunately we're never going to know exactly how much damage his secondaries alone did during the course of that battle, but we can probably make an estimation, considering they did score 266 hits compared to the 69 hits, most of which didn't really do any damage, from his main gun batteries, and he didn't come that far short of 300,000 damage overall, which is kind of incredible considering just how piss poor this battle was for at least the first half, when those guns just failed to hit anything, and even when they did, they rarely yielded anything other than over-penetrations. I think it's fairly safe to say that most of the first 100,000 damage that he did in this battle came from the secondary gun batteries. And from that point on, the Cyclone was in effect, so he was constantly engaging targets at ranges of 8 kilometers or less, at which point the secondaries were all firing as well, so I wouldn't be at all surprised if, out of the 283,000 damage that he did, 100,000 or more was caused purely by the secondary gun batteries, either direct damage or as a result of the fires that they were inflicting. And that's just one of the many reasons why the Großer Kurfürst is so much fun. The secondaries are hilarious. The main gun batteries, arguably even more hilarious. Although rarely in a good way. But that's just part of the ship's charm. Like Bilbo leaving Hobbiton, you never know exactly what's going to happen. All you know is that it's going to be an adventure. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.